Hi everyone. In this lesson we're going to be setting up some IES lights for those canister lights. But first let's just go through some of the lights that I set up from the previous lesson. So if you remember, there are three main ways of adding lights. The first one was using a V-Ray sphere light. Very similar to that is the V-Ray rectangle light, which is what I use for this light above the kitchen. So if you just hide the glass there, you can see I just created this V-Ray rectangle light and scaled it to be basically the same size as this. And if you look at the attribute editor, I've given this a more orangish color, set the intensity to 50, and then I've checked double-sided. And then up here, remember I detached, or rather I extracted these faces and turned this into a V-Ray mesh light, and I used that same technique down in the bathroom for this strip along here. So it's just been detached, converted into a V-Ray mesh light. This one has a temperature of 5400 and an intensity of 20. And then for this core piece, I've applied a V-Ray light material, and it just has this greenish blue color with a color multiplier of 10. And sometimes it helps when you're using the V-Ray physical camera to check this compensate camera exposure checkbox, and then also the direct illumination checkbox if you want it to behave more like a realistic light. And you can also see I just added some of these rectangle lights, one up here just to brighten this room a little bit, and then also one down here under the stairs to light up this volume. I should also point out that I created a new type of glass for this. I wanted to have a frosted glass down here. So let me show you that material. You can start off just by making the simple glass material that we did before, but in this case I've turned the diffuse color up to white, and then the refraction is set to be a little bit more gray, and then you can set the refraction glossiness to something less than 1, and that'll give you that frosted look. If you turn this back up, you can see it's totally clear, and as you turn this down it starts to get more blurred. So I have this set to 0.6. And then for the color, that's coming from this fog color here, which is set to a very light greenish color, and then with 3 as the multiplier. And then I've also applied a V-Ray light material to these can lights. This just has a temperature set to 5000 and a color multiplier of 10. So let's just take a look and see how all of this is looking right now. Do a quick render. Okay, so this is looking pretty nice. And you can see that these can lights, they're lit up from the light material that we applied, but I want to have the nice light profiles that the IES files will create. Basically, if you're not familiar with IES lights, it's kind of a realistic way of lighting your scene, and the data creates these light profiles. So if you don't already have any, you can search online to find some. I'm going to be using some profiles that I downloaded from Lithonia Lighting. You can go on here and it's free. You could just download this whole set of files. Okay, so let's start creating some IES lights in this scene. First thing we want to do is go to Create, go to Lights, and go to V-Ray IES Light. And then in your attribute editor, this is where we're going to load the IES file. So just browse, and wherever you've saved out your IES lights, just navigate to that folder. I'm going to be using this particular light, actually this one. Say open, and then I'm going to set the color temperature on this to 5000, and then change the intensity to 4. Okay, and then I'm just going to position one of these just going to line it up right on top of one of these can lights. And just under it, just a little bit. Okay. So there we go. And then once I have one, I'm just going to duplicate this a few times to all of these other can lights in the ceiling. And also to these over here. Okay. So let's see how these are looking. Okay, so that's how this is looking. I think it's looking pretty nicely. We got those nice defined shapes coming from the IES lights. So basically we just need to add a few more into the back here, and that will take care of all the interior lighting. In the next video, we will start setting up some materials.